Exactly. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Test.
Is it called like Kids or something?
Good evening. Diane Wyatter. First and always, thank you for your service to the students, the district, and this community. In the October community comments, I noted that I was looking forward to the superintendent's report and the plan following, and I was pleased to hear Dr. Lawley's clear, no-nonsense reporting, doable, practical, strategic plan moving forward. There's much underway, and there's much still to be done. Due to this, I encourage the board to consider select, limited, and temporary specific staff support positions in order to support the organizational change initiative and effort. Many strategic plans fail not because of good and genuine effort, but because of the dual, regular, and added demand on positions and personnel that becomes overwhelming and unsustainable. The plan is doable and a tremendous effort. And to be clear, my encouragement is for temporary. Momentum. I commend the board for the community engagement and conversation efforts, and I've done this before. This demonstrates the board efforts to listen to the community, include the community, and take the risk of action of listening and honoring the community. This is demonstrated in part by at least 4 of the board reports being presented this evening. Make no mistake, this is momentum. This is risk. And this is crucial to the community and educational efforts. And as I close my comments tonight, I will say again, first and always, thank you for your service.
Next speaker is Vicki Worden.
Vicki Worden. Good evening. I didn't prepare a statement. I'm just going to speak from the heart. Thank you for continuing to keep Lakota the wonderful place that it is. My 3 children went through Lakota. It was wonderful then. It gets better and better. I have 2 grandchildren in the Lakota schools now. One is accelerated, and the teachers always differentiate the curriculum and challenge him, and he's progressing, he's learning, he's happy, he's thriving. The other one has severe ADHD and a 504 plan, and every accommodation that his parents could wish for is in that plan. His needs are met, he's progressing, he's happy, he's learning, he's thriving. I want to encourage you to keep the faith. These are extraordinary times in our country and in the world. And these are extraordinary times to serve on a school board. And I know from my career that there are times that it can be extremely challenging to be respectful and to stay focused when someone isn't being respectful to you or they're interrupting. And I just ask you to keep the faith and keep doing a good job. Continue to support efforts that use research-based best practices, remembering those pillars of child development, and remembering that this is public education. It's not private school, it's not a church school, it's certainly not homeschooling. You're educating the masses. Whoever shows up, whatever barriers to learning they have, that's what has to be dealt with. So please continue to stay focused on those things, and I just encourage you to keep the faith. Thank you.
Good evening, good evening, everyone. Benjamin McCall, community member. Wanted to ask a question in regards to the master facilities plan. When a comprehensive update will be provided on the plan, and from past meetings that I've watched and the facilities committee meetings, I can't make out a real status on any relevant activities, outline of actions or timeline on what's next. In the August 18th Facilities Committee meeting, there were a lot of references to building issues and roofing leaks that were addressed and talked about, and all major issues, but still only short-term and not long-term fixes. That is not due to the facilities team necessarily, but dragging by the actions of moving forward with the plan. There have been references in meetings that might not be the right time, a burden, and as a taxpayer, I think it's better to invest in something new to take us farther and save us more than pouring more into something way past its time that will only cost everyone more. As a taxpayer, knowing that if we act soon, we could save a lot more, up to 30% on full cost, of course in various areas, that's much better than learning we could lose 30%. And not deciding will cause higher operational costs. Not making a decision should not be an option. There are a lot of unknowns for the future, but let's look at what we know. The forecast is that Lakota has been growing. Since 2014, we have consistently grown roughly 2% on average each year based off enrollments, yet the buildings are getting older. All while the master facilities plan has been talked about for 4+ years. And I know there's a lot of reason why some actions haven't been taken, at least in the beginning. Yet the buildings have still gotten older. The average age of the 23 schools is 34+ years old. We have 2 buildings that are 60 years old. And I was curious about the functional life, so I looked at the National Center of Educational Statistics. Buildings between 30 and 40 years old, the original equipment should have been replaced, and including roofs and electrical equipment. And there's a lot more once you get to 40, 50, 60 years old. So as moves are being made as short-term fixes to gain a point on the state report card are needed and necessary, it would be nice to minimize reacting to short-term issues and spend more time being proactive towards the long-term needs. And another question is, I know there's been a diversity committee council meeting. Wanted to know when the next plan for that will be happening. There were roughly 20 members brought together to discuss, and it was once. And I know it's been 2 months, but it feels like much longer. So I'd like to hear more about that. Tomorrow is election day. I ask everyone to vote tomorrow, regardless of your feelings around any issue. It's important that we have our voices heard in those standpoints, and it's also important that people hear it. With that in mind, thank you very much. I know it's a thankless job, and it's important that we be firm but fair without being destructive and divisive, and that we hear each other out regardless of the differences that we may have with each other. Thank you.
Mrs. Elijah.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Luigi, and I'd like to address the current staff morale issues and the micromanaging of classrooms and teachers by district leadership. I was sent a screenshot of an email that was sent to an elementary building staff this week upon the direction of central office, and it states that district leadership is requiring all teachers to post their general schedules outside their classroom, which seems like a potential safety hazard should someone with bad intent gain access to the building, as well as requiring all teachers to post a daily schedule with goals for the day, what standards are being covered, etc. And I failed to see how your average elementary school student is invested in needing to know which daily specific standards they're covering that day. This seems designed to check up on teachers versus being beneficial to students. The same email talks about requiring classrooms to use harsh fluorescent overhead lighting and not allowing them to set their own lighting needs for their classroom. Saying things about blue light technology in the dark and a vague reference to classroom management. This is overkill. District leadership is also attempting to micromanage things like classroom libraries, specific curriculum used by teachers, and other things. The teacher who communicated with me went on to say, "The morale of staff is so bad right now. We are more stressed out now than we were during COVID. And there's a lot of us who plan to look into other districts if this type of thing continues. And it's many of us who have been in Lakota for years, live in Lakota, and love this district and the families. If we are concerned about our report card results, you know it's not going to help our results? Losing a lot of the staff who are otherwise super invested in our students. Teachers I have been talking to include some of my own students' favorite teachers over the years, as well as those who have been recognized for excellence. We cannot afford for this type of micromanaging environment to continue. Allow teachers to teach, allow buildings to manage their own environments, put our focus on things that truly affect student outcomes. We are no longer in the era of straight rows of desks, of rote classroom memorization and regurgitation, and of rigid school environments. But it feels like some of our board members and district leadership want to drag our teachers and students back to that.